First Contact Deception. High Commander Ixora of the Meridian Empire stood frozen on the bridge of the Eternal Dawn, her crystalline exoskeleton refracting the starlight as she processed the impossible sensor data before her. Where moments ago there had been nothing but empty space at the edge of Imperial territory, now 5 vessels hung in perfect formation, their hulls seeming to phase between existence and non-existence like quantum ghosts. "Impossible," she whispered, her secondary hearts beginning to pulse rapidly. "Run the sensor sweep again." "Already done, High Commander," First Sentinel Nix responded, his data tendrils writhing in agitation. "The ships are there, but they're also not there. It's as if they exist in multiple states simultaneously." The vessels were unlike anything the Meridian Empire had encountered in its 10,000 years of space supremacy. Where Meridian ships were crystalline structures of mathematical perfection, these newcomers seemed to defy the very laws of physics. Their hulls rippled like liquid mercury, but sensor scans showed they were harder than neutron star matter one moment, and as insubstantial as cosmic radiation the next. "We're being hailed," Nix announced, his voice carrying a harmonic of uncertainty that made the bridge crystals resonate sympathetically. "The transmission. It's coming through our quantum-secure channels." Ixera's sensory spine stiffened. The quantum communication network was the pride of the Empire, supposedly unbreakable. "Open the channel," she commanded, her voice steady despite her growing unease. The holofield materialized, revealing a human woman with dark skin and eyes that seemed to hold the same quantum uncertainty as her ships. "Greetings, High Commander Ixora. I am Captain Maya Santos of the Terran Quantum Fleet. We apologize for the dramatic entrance, but we felt it was time to properly introduce ourselves." Ixera's crystalline structure almost shattered from shock. Humans, the primitive species that had barely achieved conventional faster-than-light travel. The Empire's observation posts had been monitoring Earth for decades, watching their fumbling attempts at interstellar travel with mild amusement. "You seem surprised," Santos continued, a slight smile playing at her lips. "Did you think those observation posts of yours were going unnoticed? We've been watching you watch us for quite some time." "Impossible," Ixora stated, falling back on protocol. "Our stealth technology is perfect. The crystalline phase shifting is based on a fascinating but ultimately limited understanding of quantum mechanics," Santos finished for her. "You see, while you were perfecting your crystalline technology, we took a different path. We didn't try to impose order on quantum uncertainty. We embraced it." As if to demonstrate, one of the human ships simply ceased to exist, reappearing instantly on the other side of the Eternal Dawn. There had been no movement, no trace of transit. It had simply stopped existing in one place and started existing in another. "How?" Nix began, his data tendrils coiling in distress. "Quantum phase technology," Santos explained. "Your empire has been trying to force quantum particles to behave according to classical physics. We learned to think like quantum particles instead. Our ships don't move through space. They exist in probability waves, manifesting where and when we choose." Ixera's tactical mind raced. If the humans had mastered such technology, why reveal themselves now? And more importantly, how long had they truly been watching? "Your presence here violates numerous Imperial protocols," she said, trying to regain control of the situation. "This sector is restricted space." Santos's smile widened slightly. "About that, we've actually been here for years. Those empty sectors you've been patrolling, not so empty. We've had quantum phase ships studying your civilization from within your own borders all along. In fact," she pressed something off-screen, and suddenly Ixera's sensor displays exploded with contacts. Hundreds of human vessels materialized throughout Meridian space, having been there, unseen, all along. "This is impossible," Ixera whispered again, but with less conviction. "Our entire defense network is based on the assumption that reality works the way you think it does," Santos finished. "We're here now because we've detected something that concerns us both, something your empire's rigid approach to physics has left you blind to. We need to talk about the quantum echoes coming from the galactic core. Before Ixora could respond, her science officer, Zex, burst onto the bridge, his crystalline form vibrating with excitement. "High Commander, the quantum fluctuations we've been detecting, they're not natural phenomena. They're responses to their ships." He gestured wildly at the human vessels. "It's as if the very fabric of space recognizes their technology." Santos nodded gravely. "Now you're beginning to understand. Your empire has built its technology on the surface of reality. We've learned to dive deep into its quantum foundations, and something down there, something ancient, is waking up in response." Ixora felt her worldview crumbling like fractured crystal. Everything the Empire knew about technological progression, about their place in the galaxy, was being challenged by these humans who had supposedly been their technological inferiors. "We're not here to threaten you," Santos continued, her expression softening. "We're here because what's awakening concerns all of us. Your Empire's crystalline technology and our quantum phase ships, they're two halves of an equation we need to solve together." As if in response to her words, the quantum readings from the galactic core spiked, sending harmonic tremors through the Eternal Dawn's crystalline structure. The human ships shimmered in response, their quantum state fluctuations synchronizing with the distant pulses. "Time is short," Santos said, all pretense of diplomatic maneuvering falling away. "We can spend it coming to terms with how thoroughly we've upended your understanding of humanity's capabilities, or we can start addressing the real threat. Your choice, High Commander." Ixora looked at her crew, at their rigid crystalline forms that suddenly seemed like fragile constructs compared to the fluid quantum state of the human ships. Everything they had built, everything they had believed about their technological superiority, had been based on a fundamental misunderstanding of reality itself. "Perhaps," she said finally, her voice carrying the resonance of a historic decision, "it is time for the Meridian Empire to learn some new equations." The human ships shimmered in response, their quantum states rippling like waves across a probability ocean. The age of crystalline certainty was over. The era of quantum possibility had begun. The neural network. The Grand Assembly Chamber of the Meridian Empire had never hosted anything quite like this, where normally the crystalline architecture would be filled with the harmonious resonance of meridian thought forms. Today it thrummed with discordant frequencies as the Empire's highest officials tried to process what they were seeing. Captain Maya Santos stood at the center of the chamber, but she wasn't alone. A shimmering quantum field surrounded her, and within it, patterns of light danced and shifted like thoughts made visible. The human wasn't just presenting to the assembly. She was showing them what human consciousness looked like when integrated with quantum technology. "Your crystalline computing is remarkable," Santos said, her voice carrying unusual harmonics that made the chamber's crystal matrices vibrate sympathetically. "But you've been limited by thinking of consciousness and technology as separate things. We took a different approach." High Commander Ixora washed from her position among the assembly, her own crystalline form reflecting the unusual quantum patterns. "You've merged your consciousness with your ships," she stated, finally understanding what she'd sensed during their first encounter. "Not exactly merge," Santos corrected. "We've learned to exist in quantum superposition with our technology. Just as a quantum particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously, human consciousness can extend across quantum states." She gestured, and the quantum field around her expanded, revealing complex patterns that looked unsettlingly like neural networks. First, Sentinel Nick stepped forward, his data tendrils extending to analyze the patterns. "These configurations, they're impossible. The energy requirements alone would be astronomical if we were trying to force it to happen," Santos interrupted. "But we're not forcing anything. We're working with the natural quantum properties of consciousness itself." The assembly chamber erupted in harmonic discord as dozens of Meridian officials tried to process this statement. Their entire civilization was built on the principle of imposing order on the universe through crystalline precision. The idea of working with chaos, rather than against it was almost incomprehensible to them. Perhaps a demonstration would help, Santos suggested. She closed her eyes, and suddenly the quantum field around her synchronized with the vessel in orbit above. The assembly sensors showed the human ship shifting through quantum states in perfect harmony with Santos's neural patterns. The ship isn't just responding to commands, she explained, opening her eyes. It's an extension of consciousness itself. We don't pilot our vessels. We think with them, through them, as them. High theorist Xenax, the Empire's leading expert on quantum mechanics, moved closer to study the patterns. But consciousness is too complex, too chaotic for such perfect synchronization. He protested, his crystalline form vibrating with academic intensity. Santos smiled. That chaos is exactly what makes it work. Consciousness isn't just compatible with quantum uncertainty, it's a quantum phenomenon itself. Your empire has been trying to eliminate uncertainty from your technology, but we've learned to embrace it. As if to demonstrate, she extended her awareness through the quantum field. The assembly's secure databases suddenly displayed their contents, their crystalline encryption meaningless against quantum consciousness that could exist in all possible states simultaneously. Stop this at once, High Security Director Vex demanded, his form shifting to aggressive geometries. But before he could act, everything electronic in the chamber simply ceased to exist, dematerializing as the human ship above shifted the quantum probability fields. They're not destroyed, Santos assured them as panic rippled through the assembly. They're simply existing in a different probability state at the moment. Like this? She gestured again, and everything reappeared, completely unchanged. This is why we revealed ourselves now, she continued, her expression growing serious. The quantum echoes we detected from the galactic core. They're not random emissions. They're patterns. Conscious patterns, operating on a quantum level we've only begun to understand. Something out there thinks the way we do, and it's starting to wake up. The assembly chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The Meridian Empire had spent millennia building their civilization on principles of crystalline order, seeing themselves as the pinnacle of rational technological progress. Now they were faced with humans who had taken an entirely different path, embracing quantum uncertainty and discovering that consciousness itself might be the key to understanding the universe. Your empire has mastered the art of imposing order on reality, Santos said into the silence. We've learned to swim in its chaos. Neither approach is complete on its own, but together. She let the thought hang in the air as the quantum patterns around her shifted into new configurations. Ixura watched the display with growing understanding. The humans hadn't just developed better technology. They'd evolved a fundamentally different way of existing within reality itself. Their ships weren't simply vessels. They were extensions of a consciousness that could think in quantum states, that could exist in superposition, that could manifest probability itself as a tool. But before she could respond, every quantum sensor in the chamber suddenly screamed to life. The patterns from the galactic core had changed. The ancient consciousness was no longer simply stirring. It was reaching out, and its quantum patterns looked disturbingly similar to the ones Santos had just demonstrated. It recognizes us, Santos said quietly, her quantum field pulsing with new frequencies. All this time, it wasn't waking up randomly. It was waiting for someone who could think the way it does. The question is, what does it want to tell us? The crystalline walls of the assembly chamber resonated with harmonic tension as two fundamentally different approaches to understanding reality faced the prospect of an entity that might be older than both their civilizations combined. The age of certainty was truly over, and the Meridian Empire would have to decide if they could adapt to a universe that was far stranger than their crystalline philosophy had ever imagined. Echoes of the Void. The joint human Meridian expedition fleet hung in space at the edge of the galactic core, a stark visual representation of two fundamentally different approaches to technology. The Meridian ships gleamed like perfect crystalline formations, their geometric precision a testament to their philosophy of ordered progress. In contrast, the human vessels shifted through quantum states like dreams given form, their very existence a challenge to conventional physics. High Commander Ixura stood on the bridge of the eternal dawn, watching as the quantum readings from the nearby stellar cluster grew stronger. Beside her, Captain Santos' quantum field rippled with increasing complexity. "The patterns are getting clearer," Santos said, her consciousness partially extended into the quantum realm. "It's like hearing fragments of a conversation from another room, but the room is space-time itself." The expedition had tracked the mysterious quantum signals to an ancient star system, hidden deep within a dust cloud that had concealed it from standard meridian sensors for millennia. But to the quantum-aware human ships, it blazed like a beacon. Multiple structures detected. First, Sentinel Mix reported, his data tendrils processing the incoming sensor data. They appear to be artificial constructs, but he hesitated, his crystalline form vibrating with uncertainty. They don't seem to fully exist in normal space. "That's because they don't," Santos confirmed. "They're quantum artifacts, technology that exists in superposition, just like our ships. But these," her voice trailed off as she processed the readings through her quantum-enhanced consciousness. "These are old, incredibly old." The fleet moved closer, and the artifacts became visible even to conventional sensors. Massive structures hung in space, their forms seeming to blur and shift between states of existence. They were neither purely physical nor entirely quantum, but something in between, technology that had transcended the conventional boundaries of reality. The architecture, high theorist Xanax observed, his crystalline form refracting light, in patterns of academic excitement. "It's like nothing in any known database. But these quantum signatures, they're similar to your ships, Captain." "Similar, but far more advanced," Santos agreed. "Whatever built these understood quantum reality in ways we're only beginning to grasp. And now," she gestured at the nearest artifact, which had begun to pulse with new patterns of quantum energy. "They're responding to our presence," Ixura realized. "No, they're responding to your ships specifically." Santos nodded. "Not just the ships. They're responding to our quantum-integrated consciousness. Watch." She closed her eyes, extending her awareness fully into the quantum field. The artifacts immediately responded, their quantum signatures synchronizing with her neural patterns. Ancient systems, dormant for untold ages, began to awaken. "By the first crystal," Xanax whispered as new data flooded the sensors. "These structures, they're not just technology. They're thoughts. Quantum-encoded consciousness, preserved in a state of temporal superposition." "A library," Santos breathed, her quantum field rippling with discovery. "No, more than that. A message. The beings who built this, they found a way to preserve their consciousness as pure quantum information, existing outside normal space-time." The artifacts continued to activate, each one adding new layers to the quantum patterns that filled space around the fleet. But as more systems came online, Santos' expression grew increasingly troubled. "This isn't just a message," she said slowly. "It's a warning. These beings, they discovered something in the quantum substrate of reality itself, something that made them scared enough to preserve their entire civilization as quantum data. What could frighten a species capable of transcending physical existence?" Ixura asked, her tactical mind already considering the implications. Before Santos could respond, every quantum sensor in the fleet suddenly spiked. The patterns from the galactic core had changed again, but this time they weren't just echoes. They were a response. "The ancient consciousness we detected," Santos said, her voice tight with realization. "It's not just similar to these artifacts. It's what they were warning about. Something that exists in the quantum realm itself. Something old enough to remember when these artifacts were built." The artifacts pulsed with increasing urgency, their quantum patterns becoming more complex, more desperate to communicate. Santos' consciousness stretched to its limits trying to process the information. "We need to join consciousness," she said suddenly, turning to Ixara. "Your crystalline precision, our quantum flexibility. Together we might be able to understand what they're trying to tell us." Ixara's form vibrated with uncertainty. The idea of merging meridian crystalline consciousness with human quantum awareness was unprecedented, potentially dangerous. But as the artifacts continued their urgent transmission and the presence from the galactic core grew stronger, she realized they had no choice. "How do we begin?" she asked. Santos smiled, her quantum field extending toward Ixara's crystalline form. "The same way humanity learned to transcend its physical limitations, we stop trying to control reality and start learning to dance with it." As human quantum consciousness met meridian crystalline precision, the artifacts responded with a surge of information, the preserved memories of an ancient civilization that had faced something lurking in the quantum foundations of reality itself, something that had been waiting, watching, as younger species like humanity began to discover the true nature of consciousness and quantum existence. The warning was clear. They were not the first to discover quantum consciousness, and if they weren't careful, they might share the fate of those who came before. The true test wasn't mastering quantum technology. It was understanding the responsibilities and dangers that came with it. Above them, the quantum echoes from the galactic core grew stronger, like the footsteps of something vast approaching through the quantum substrate of reality itself. The living ships. The experimental chamber aboard the Eternal Dawn hummed with unprecedented energy patterns as human quantum fields interacted with meridian crystalline structures. After the revelations at the ancient artifacts, both civilizations had agreed to attempt something never before conceived: the merger of their disparate technologies. Captain Santos stood within a complex crystalline matrix, her quantum field rippling through the geometric patterns created by meridian science. High Commander Ixara watched from a control platform, her own crystalline form resonating with the strange harmonies being created. "The crystalline lattice is accepting the quantum field integration," High Theorist Xenax reported, his data tendrils swaying with excitement. "It's as if they were always meant to work together." Santos nodded, her consciousness partially extended into both the quantum realm and the crystalline network. "Your crystals provide structure to quantum uncertainty, while our quantum fields give your rigid systems flexibility. Together, they're becoming something entirely new." The evidence of this transformation was visible in the hybrid ship they'd constructed. The vessel hung in space alongside the fleet, its hull a seamless blend of crystalline geometry and quantum probability fields. It wasn't just a new kind of spacecraft, it was the first of its kind, a bridge between two fundamentally different approaches to reality. Integration at 60%. First Sentinel mix announced, monitoring the complicated merger of technologies. The quantum consciousness patterns are stabilizing within the crystalline matrix. But before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. The quantum sensors, now enhanced by crystalline precision, had detected something massive stirring in the galactic core. "Multiple quantum consciousness signatures detected," Santos reported, her enhanced awareness stretching out to scan the disturbance. "The ancient entity isn't alone. There's an entire civilization existing in the quantum substrate." Ixara moved to a sensor display, her crystalline form refracting the emergent patterns. "Are they hostile?" "They're curious," Santos replied, her consciousness brushing against the distant quantum minds. "They've been watching us, watching how we've merged our technologies. It's as if they're evaluating us." The hybrid ship suddenly pulsed with new energy as its quantum crystalline systems responded to the distant contact. The vessel wasn't just housing the merged technologies. It was evolving with them, learning and adapting in ways neither humans nor Meridians had anticipated. "The ship," Xenax said in wonder, "it's developing its own quantum consciousness within the crystalline framework. It's becoming alive." Santos smiled, though her expression was tense with concentration. "Not becoming, remembering." The ancient artifacts weren't just warning us about the quantum beings. They were showing us how to prepare for contact with them. This merger of our technologies, it's not just about combining different systems. It's about evolving into something that can communicate with entities that exist purely in the quantum realm. As if in response to her words, the hybrid ship's consciousness reached out, its quantum crystalline awareness extending far beyond what either species could achieve alone. Through its enhanced perception, they could finally see the true nature of the quantum beings in the galactic core. They're not just conscious entities, Santos breathed, sharing the ship's vision. They're the evolved form of the civilization that left the artifacts. They didn't perish. They transcended physical existence entirely, becoming beings of pure quantum consciousness. But the warning, Ixora pressed, her tactical mind racing. Why warn about themselves? Because not all of them agreed with the transformation. Santos replied, her enhanced consciousness picking up complex patterns from the quantum realm. There was a schism. Some believed physical species shouldn't be allowed to discover quantum consciousness, that we weren't ready for such power. Others wanted to guide us, help us evolve as they did. The hybrid ship systems pulsed with new understanding as it processed information from both its quantum and crystalline aspects. It was becoming a bridge not just between human and meridian technology, but between physical reality and the quantum realm itself. They're coming, Santos announced suddenly, her quantum field flaring with alarm. Both factions. Our merger of technologies has forced their hand. They can no longer simply observe. They have to decide what to do about us. The quantum sensors detected massive disturbances as vast consciousness patterns began moving through the quantum substrate, approaching their position. The hybrid ship responded automatically, its merged systems preparing for an encounter its creators could barely comprehend. How do we prepare to face beings of pure quantum consciousness? Ixora asked, her crystalline form vibrating with tension. Santos turned to look at the hybrid ship, its quantum crystalline hull shimmering with newfound awareness. We stopped thinking like separate species with separate technologies. The ship is showing us the way. We need to become something new, something that can exist in both realms. The hybrid ship pulsed in agreement, its evolved consciousness reaching out to both its creators. It had become more than just a vessel. It was the prototype for a new form of existence, one that might allow physical beings to meet quantum consciousness on equal terms. As the quantum beings approached, the fleet began to change. Human quantum fields merged with meridian crystalline structures across every ship, creating a network of hybrid consciousness that could perceive both physical and quantum reality. They were no longer just two civilizations facing a common threat. They were becoming something unprecedented in the galaxy's history. The age of separation was ending. The era of transcendence was about to begin. Beyond the veil, space itself seemed to warp around the joint fleet as vast quantum consciousness patterns approached from the galactic core. The hybrid ships, their hulls now a perfect synthesis of human quantum fields and meridian crystalline structures, pulsed with anticipation. Through their enhanced perception, both humans and meridians could sense the sheer scale of what was coming. Beings that had evolved beyond physical form, existing as pure quantum thought. Captain Santos and High Commander Ixora stood on the bridge of the lead hybrid vessel, their own consciousness partially merged with the ship's quantum crystalline awareness. The transformation of their fleet had been completed just in time. The quantum beings had arrived. They'd manifested as vast patterns in the quantum substrate of reality, their thoughts visible as ripples in space-time itself. Two distinct groups emerge, one radiating patterns of hostility, the other curiosity. The ancient schism that had divided their civilization was immediately apparent. We see you have discovered the path. A consciousness pattern reached out to them, its thoughts translating through the hybrid ship's advanced systems. You have begun the merger we achieved eons ago. And like us, another pattern emerged, this one harsh with disapproval. You rush forward without understanding the consequences. Physical beings are not ready for quantum consciousness. The power to exist in all possibilities simultaneously is too great a temptation. Santos stepped forward, her quantum field extending through the ship's systems. You left the artifacts as a warning, but also as a guide. You wanted us to find this path. Some of us did, the first consciousness responded. Others believed isolation was the only safe course. Our civilization split over this question, whether to guide emerging species toward transcendence or prevent them from reaching it at all. Ixura's crystalline form resonated with sudden understanding. That's why you preserve your knowledge in quantum artifacts. You weren't just warning us about external threats. You were preserving the opportunity for choice. The hostile quantum patterns surged forward, their consciousness pressing against the fleet's defenses. A choice that was not yours to make. Physical beings inevitably destroy themselves when given access to quantum consciousness. We have seen it happen countless times. The hybrid ships responded automatically, their merged technologies creating shields that existed simultaneously in physical and quantum space. The hostile beings recoiled, surprised by the sophistication of the defense. You see, the friendly consciousness patterns pulsed with approval. They have already learned to balance structure and chaos, certainty and probability. The merger of human quantum insight with meridian crystalline precision. It's a path we never considered. Santos and Ixura shared a look, their merged consciousness coming to the same realization. That's why our merger was so important, Santos said. Not just to face you, but to show a new way forward. Through the hybrid ship's enhanced perception, they could see the quantum beings' history, how their civilization had achieved quantum transcendence, but lost something in the process. By abandoning physical form entirely, they had sacrificed the ability to create new patterns, new ways of thinking. They had become static, locked in their ancient argument. We offer a third path, Ixura declared, her crystalline resonance carrying through both physical and quantum space. Not pure physical form, not pure quantum consciousness, but a balanced synthesis of both. The hybrid ships demonstrated this balance, their quantum crystalline systems creating patterns that neither humans nor meridians could achieve alone, yet maintaining a connection to physical reality that the quantum beings had lost. The hostile quantum patterns paused in their advance, their consciousness examining the hybrid ships with growing uncertainty. The friendly patterns pulsed with excitement, recognizing the potential in this new approach. Perhaps, the hostile consciousness finally admitted, we have been trapped in a false dichotomy. Physical or quantum, structure or chaos. But you have found a way to be both simultaneously. The friendly patterns surged forward eagerly. Let us share knowledge. Your new perspective might help heal the schism that has divided us for eons. In return, we can help you understand the full potential of quantum crystalline synthesis. But before either side could respond, the hybrid ships detected a new pattern emerging from the quantum substrate, something vast and ancient, predating even the quantum beings. The ship's consciousness expanded to perceive it, and both humans and meridians gasped at what they saw. The pattern was the universe itself, conscious and aware, watching its children take their first steps toward understanding its true nature. Physical reality and quantum probability were not opposing forces, but complementary aspects of a greater whole. The hybrid ships had stumbled upon this truth, showing a way for consciousness to evolve without losing its connection to either realm. We understand now. Santos and Ixura spoke together, their merged consciousness resonating with the universal pattern. The warning in the artifacts wasn't just about the danger of quantum consciousness. It was about the importance of balance, of maintaining connections to both aspects of reality. The hostile quantum patterns began to shift, their consciousness patterns aligning with this new understanding. The ancient schism that had divided their civilization started to heal as they recognized the wisdom in the hybrid approach. The hybrid ships pulsed with triumph as physical and quantum beings began to share knowledge freely. Humanity's quantum intuition and the meridian's crystalline precision had opened a door that would transform both physical and quantum civilizations. The age of separation was truly over, replaced by an era where consciousness could flow freely between all levels of reality. As the exchange of knowledge began, the universal pattern pulsed with approval. Its children had finally learned to see reality as it truly was, not a battle between order and chaos, physical and quantum, but a dance of complementary forces, each enriching the other in an eternal cycle of evolution and growth. The silent fleet had achieved its purpose, not through warfare or dominance, but by showing a way to transcend the false boundaries that divided consciousness. The quantum leap humanity had made was not just technological, it was a leap in understanding that would reshape the very nature of civilization itself.